We've seen a lot of information this week, so let's put it together and make a picture. I'm going to draw something really simple and really easy just so we can see the steps that are involved. So I doodled up a little drawing and I'm going to draw this thing. So you can see that the graphics window that I want to create is 600 by 400 and I'm going to draw 7 objects. A bunch of boxes, there's a square, there's an ellipse, there's a circle, and I'm not exactly sure what the colors will be, but they'll be different. So let's get this started. Here's a blank processing sketch. The first thing we do for any sketch of more than just, 1 or 2 lines is we create a void setup with an open and closed paren, nothing in between them. I usually type a space after that closed paren, an open curly brace, and a closed curly brace. That's just boilerplate. That's the stuff that tells processing, here's where the program begins, and the program goes between those curly braces. You absolutely need this, and we'll talk about what all this stuff is about later on. But for now, just put it in there and move on. So the first thing we want to do is create a graphics window that's 600 wide by 400 high. We do that by calling the routine size. So I will stick a blank line in here and I'll hit the tab key. Now my tab key goes in 2 spaces. Yours may go in 3 or 4 or 6. It doesn't matter. But you want at least 1 space of tab in there just to visually organize the program. Processing doesn't care about the tabs, but we do, and it's really a good habit to get into for the lines of your program that goes between these curly braces to be indented. So I'm going to do that, and I encourage you strongly to do the same. So to create our 600 by 400 window, we call size. And like everything else, it takes a pair of parentheses and ends with a semicolon. And I'm going to backspace because in between these parentheses, we're going to put the size of our graphics window. 600 wide, comma, 400 high. And then I'll get rid of those extra spaces I put there just to show you. Now, I'm going to do one more thing in my boilerplate. I'm going to call smooth. And it again takes open close paren and a semicolon. In this case, nothing goes between the parentheses. Smooth tells processing, draw the picture a little bit more slowly than you might otherwise, but make it look nice and smooth and pretty. And frankly, the amount of time it takes on today's computers is hardly noticeable. So I almost always have smooth in every program I draw. Now, the first thing we're going to draw is the first box. So tell you what, let's create a comment that tells us we're about to draw box 1. Anything that starts with 2 slashes is a comment, and processing ignores everything you type until you hit a carriage return. And you can see it's all printed in gray. So if I just write box 1 like that, I'm going to get rid of the junk. Processing ignores that. It's just a placeholder for us. By the way, you can also start a comment on a line with other stuff. So processing will see the smooth, paren, semicolon, and say, great, I will do that. And then it sees the 2 slashes and says, okay, everything to the end of the line, I ignore. Well, that's not much of a comment. I'll get rid of it. So now we are going to draw a box. Now I might want to set up the colors and the stroke weight and all that stuff. But for right now, I'm going to draw a box of some kind. And I know that I'm going to have a command to rect, because it's a box. Let's see what goes into those parentheses. So here's the drawing, and I'm going to start with box 1, which is at the bottom of the picture. And you can see it's the long horizontal box with a 1 in the bottom left corner. So let's actually mark it so we can see it. Now, what is the rect command to draw this box? Well, we know it's rect, and it's going to take 4 numbers. And by default, those are going to be the upper left XY, width, and height. So let's find those values. What is the upper left X? Well, that's just the distance from the left-hand side. And I'm drawing that here with this red line. So how long is that red line? Well, if you look at the scale at the top, you can see that each one of these little green boxes represents 20 pixels because 5 of them are 100 pixels. That was just a convenient scale for me to use when I drew this little drawing. And you'll notice I do have the numbers 0, 100, 200, 300, and so forth written down the left and across the top. I almost always do that. It's just a convenience, but it helps me very quickly find the values of different points somewhere inside this window. So right now I just want to know the width of that red line, and I know that each one of these green boxes is 20 pixels, and that red line is 3 pixels long. So 3 times 20 is 60. The left-hand edge of the box must be at 60. Now we need to know the Y value of the upper left corner. Well, let's draw a red line for that. And now, what is the length of that line? Well, you can just read it off from the scale on the left. Remember, each box is 20 units. It's one box below 300, so it's 320. So that's the Y coordinate of the box. Now we need the width. The width is just its horizontal extent. We can count up the little boxes, and there are 24 of them. Well, okay, 24 boxes, 20 pixels per box. That's 24 times 20. If you can do that in your head, great. If you need a calculator, pull out your calculator. The answer is 480. Finally, the height of the box. Well, that's just 2 cells. Each cell is 20, so 2 of them make 40. So there's our rect command. So let's just go ahead and type that right into the program and make sure it works. So here we are back in the program, and I'm just going to type in the values we just discovered, and I'm going to move my cursor onto the Run button and click it to press Run, and processing creates everything we asked for. There's a graphics window. It's 600 by 400. It has a gray default background, and it's drawing our rectangle, and it's just the right size, it's just the right shape, and it too is being drawn with the defaults. It's being filled with white. It has a stroke of 1 pixel going around the outside, and that stroke is black. Well, that's fine for now. It just lets us know we've got the right rectangle. So now let's create the next object. So I'll move my cursor into the Go Away box or the Close box, click that to cause the window to go away, which also ends the program. And now I'm ready to type more stuff. So I'll tell you what, let's make a placeholder for box 2, which is coming up next. In part 2 of this video, we'll pick up at this point, return to the drawing, and work out how to draw this box.